Hi everybody, this week we're going to talk about how to use coloured pencils. I've got a set here, Faber-Castell coloured pencils. There's lots here. You might not have a wide variety of pencils, so I don't want to worry you about having lots of different colours. If you haven't got them, just work with what you've got. If you want to invest in some, they sell them everywhere, even in Tesco these days. So yeah, have a look around and see what you can find. Otherwise, just use what you've got. I'm going to show you a couple of techniques first, and then we're going to go on to do some white park cattle. I've sent you some pictures. If you live near Dinefwr Park in Llandeilo, go and take some pictures yourself. Go and do some drawings on site. The cattle are always out in front of the house looking rather splendid. The other thing you can do is look online for more pictures. If you don't like the pictures that I've taken here, then you can find your own. I'm working in a large sketchbook here, so I can do my experimenting at the top and do a drawing of the cow underneath. You can do it on separate pieces of paper. I'm just using cartridge paper. And I'm using a 2B pencil to do the drawing with. But first of all, we're just going to have a look at some coloured pencil techniques. Okay, so first of all, we've got directional lines to create complexity and depth. So all you need to do is draw lightly in one direction with swift, even strokes, like so. You can go lighter if you want to first. You can start off really light, almost hardly touching the paper. And with that, you'll get different textures. You can go heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. So you can see you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tones and complexity of tones just with using the pencil lightly. When I use a pencil lightly, I tend to run my hand a little bit further up and use the side, so it almost just catches the side of the paper, the surface of the paper, and then as you go further, you just move your hand further down and you can press harder and harder and harder until they get really deep in tone. Okay, the next one is scumbling to build value and texture. So if you do this, you can apply any kind of mark, but if you just do a circular mark like this, like a scribble almost, you'll get a different texture, and this might come in useful when it comes to doing some of the hair on the cow, because they have this sort of very short, curly, wavy hair. And you could take another colour of similar value, another purple say, and just build into that, creating various values and adding to the texture. And obviously, again, the closer you are to the head of the pencil, the harder the mark, and then the further away, the softer the mark. So think about textures and how you can create them. You know, you could do them just with dots like this, little curvy marks like this. We have done pencil before. I think there's a couple of YouTube free tutorials where I've talked about how to use pencil crayons. So go and have a look at those as well. Again, press harder, you get a harder, more defined mark. Use the pencil further up the stem and you'll get a lighter mark. Okay, so again, that's building value and texture. Next thing we've got is cross hatching. So this is a good way to build up dark colour. So you can start off light. I'll do a light one, and I'll also do a dark one. Again, using the pencil further up like that. And then you literally just turn your hand a different way, diagonal to the mark that you've made, and you just go across. And this is called cross hatching. Again, you'll get a different texture, but it will be darker. It's a good way of building up dark tones in your colours. So again, you can do it with different coloured pencils. You might want to blend that way. Same here. So what happens if you haven't got, say, an orange? So you could take a yellow and a red, and this is how you could create an orange. So get your yellow down, and then lightly, so using the end of the pencil, just lightly put the red over the top, and you'll end up with a tone of orange. So I've used that cross hatching technique. So I've gone one direction with one, and then I've changed direction, and you'll end up with something that looks like an orange. Okay, there we go. Next one is oil or alcohol. Now I'm just going to pause because I haven't got my oil ready. Okay, so the next one is using a cotton bud to blend, or a piece of cotton wool or anything like that. So I've got some yellow here. Oops, sorry, over there. I do that so frequently. I just get carried away with what I'm doing, and then I forget that I haven't moved my camera. Okay, work over the top with your colour, other colour that you want to blend with. And I mean, just by rubbing it together like this, it starts to blend. But if you take a bit of oil, now I've only got some water mixable oil here. You can just use baby oil. The only reason I'm using this is because I can't find my baby oil. And I'm using a environmentally friendly cotton bud, which you can buy in places like Tiger and IKEA and Boots and places like that. They're cotton buds with wooden, I don't know what you call them, sticks with environmentally friendly cotton on them. So please try and buy those if you can. And you just take the oil and you just sort of push it around on top of the colour, and that will just blend the two colours together. Okay, so you can do blending with oil, baby oil. You could try olive oil, probably that, or any kind of oil will work. But obviously, if you're using something like cooking oil, you're going to get a smell with the cooking oil. So just try and find something that either is odorless or nice, you know, has a nice fragrance to it. Okay, so there we go. There are your techniques. There are others, but those are the ones that we're going to use at some point today. Okay, so we've got directional lines, scumbling, oil or alcohol, blending, and cross hatching. Okay, so now on to our cow. How do we draw the cow? Now I've just set this up in advance a little. I just wanted to get everything in the right place because I wanted to show you how to do the basics. So if you look at your picture, now we've got this cow here. If this is the one that you want to draw, then that's great, but you can follow the same rules. And I do all my drawing like this. I look at the image and I look at the shapes that are within the image rather than looking at the cow and thinking I've got to draw a cow. I build up squares or circles that I can see in the cow's face first. And I get those in the right place. And I can see there's a triangle down the middle. And you can even draw onto your copy, which is what I do a lot of. So you could draw onto your copy and work out where those squares are and rectangles before you put them on your paper. And you can draw the angles of the horns, where the ears are. So I can see that the horn goes up and up, along and up. And then we've got a couple of squares coming off here, rectangles should I say, for the ears. And once you've got those in place, it'll be quite easy for you to find where the eyes are and so on. Look at the shapes, the negative shapes. So look at this shape here that's forming with the bottom of the jaw and the side of the neck. Look at the shape here, forming between the ear and the horn. Look at the shape here. Look at the shape, the distance between the end of the eye and the ear. Measure, you can measure with your pencil even. Yeah? So you can see that if you were to measure the depth of the nose, that there's 1, 2, just over 2 noses high. 1, 2, maybe 2.5. So I've got 1, 2 and a little bit. So that's pretty much right. Okay, and then you can start adding your detail. So you can see that the cow has a lump there, and then it goes across on the eye like that, and the other eye is sitting outside of the face slightly, and we can't see as much of it because it's a slight curve, and then it comes in and then it goes out there to the muzzle and then down, and then we've got the other end of the muzzle, and it's more or less all within the boxes that you've drawn initially. Okay, so put your details in where they come. I've got this triangle here to denote the centre of the face, and also to find out where that little tuft is, which is where all the hairs emanate from. Okay, and then it comes up there, round there. Then we've got the horn, and the horn needs to be thick enough. It's a whopper of a horn. Now you can see that I am running out of paper. I'm just going to position this right. It's over there really. We've got some bit more length here than like that. I mean, you can watch me draw and then have a go yourself. But just make adjustments. Don't be worried. Use a soft pencil so that you can rub things out and start again if you need to, and work things out before you apply any colour. So there's the ear, and then we've got the other ear here. It comes up, there's a shadow, and then there's a curve just there like that, and the ear drops down from there, comes up and round, and has a few hairs. And we can just about see the back of the cow, and we can just about see the neck of the cow. So if you want to draw more, rather than doing it in a sketchbook like I've done here, you can do it onto a piece of paper. But I just thought it'd be nice for you to see how I work in my sketchbook. So I'd put all my ideas down, all my experiments, and working with colour and texture, and then I would do a drawing, and then I might do a final painting. So once you've got your cow more or less as you like it. Take the rubber and just rub out most of it. Right, you want to rub it out, but you don't want to rub it out so you can't see it again. It's a bit like when we do our watercolours. Rub it out so that it's more or less gone, because we're going to use light colours, you see. If this was a black cow or a brown cow, then we probably wouldn't worry too much about it. But because it's a white park cow, we need to have, not to have our pencil lines showing through. So I sent you another image. This one's not so good. It hasn't printed very well because it was a low resolution image, but it shows genuinely the colour of the cow. So we're going to use it as reference. So you need to have a few pictures around you to help you with your research for your cows. So like I said, just print off a couple of images and have those cows next to your drawing so that you're referring back to them all the time. So where do we start? So because it might be the first time that you're doing a drawing of a cow, I'm going to start by using the black. And the black is for the muzzle and the eyes and the ears. Okay, so look closely at your cow. Ideally, you could look at it on your iPad or something like that. Because it's backlit, the image, and it probably is a better image to look at than the one that prints off, because it really depends on the quality of your printer as to how well they come out. So look really closely at all of the shapes that are being made by this animal's muzzle. So it's coming down. Keep your pencil sharp, which is another thing. If they start getting blunt on you, just sharpen them up a bit, because it will help with your drawing. And the muzzle comes down, and we can draw and make adjustments with our pencils. So you can see it comes down and around there, and then it goes into a little bit of a curve there. So it must be just sort of turning up that straight line that's coming down from his muzzle. And then I'm just going to lightly, I'm going to move my hand up my pencil. Oops, can you not see that? Up my pencil. And I'm just going to lightly shade the whole of the muzzle in. Now the reason why we're doing this, normally you would work light to dark. But I just want you to make sure that you don't lose your muzzle in all of your colouring in. So again, use that loose light shading, and then when you darken things up, turn your hand or turn your paper even, and just work in a cross-hatch way. Okay, now we've got it more or less shaded in, we need to just work really hard to get the darks in. So it comes down here and up there, and then it's really dark underneath here. And that's partially to do with the nature of the flesh that's there, but also the fact that it's curling underneath to where the mouth is here. So we've got a highlight here. So don't colour that in so hard. And we've also got a light section just coming across here. So that'll be a highlight. So get those marks in and leave the grey behind, which is going to act as a highlight. Okay, you can always come back and work into this a bit more. Now to give it a little bit of texture and depth, we're just going to apply a little bit of brown to it, okay? And that'll stop it from looking so grey and give it a little bit more depth. Okay, because black doesn't actually exist really. It's a series of colours mixed together to make black. So we're just going to use that brown just to give that muzzle a little bit of tone. And I can see that this side is a bit darker than I've got it. So I'm just going to darken that up a bit there. I'm going to make that base. You can just about see a lip underneath there. Now, that'll do for now. We go back up to the eyes with the black again. And we're going to put in our eyes. We're going to try and draw that eye small because we can't see too much of it. And then this one is much larger. Now again, because this is a larger area of black, we're going to make some of it darker. So we're going to round the top of the where the eyelid is, I'm going to make darker, and round underneath I'm going to make darker, and that gives the eye a sort of circular feel. Can you see that? Don't know whether you can see that. Let me just zoom in. Just put in some darker tone just around there, pressing harder with my pencil, and that's made that feel a bit rounded. I don't know whether you can see that. And I'm just going to put some brown on there in a circular motion, and that will make that eye stand out a bit. Now to the ears. So we're just going to put a light shading here, and we're going to leave it slightly broken on that edge there. Okay, so leave a ragged edge because that'll be the white of the fur coming over to meet those ears, those black ears. Okay, so again, press hard where you want it to be really black, cross hatch even, different directions, and use your pencil either at the top or along the edge to create light and dark marks. Same here on this side. So again, we want a broken edge, and then round here in with those nice big marks to fill those bits in, and then cross hatch if you want it to be darker. Okay, now you would do the same with everything else, but obviously using lighter colours. So I've got browns, raw sienna type colours, I've got bits of orange, I've got lighter tones, but you might not have these. You might only have a white and a brown in your set. Okay, so again, like I said, just work with what you've got. If you've got some greys, then that would be great. The black will come in useful. A bit of blue even, maybe a bit of purple. All those tones will be all useful, and make sure that they're all sharp. I've just used a lot of my black, so I need to sharpen that one up again. I don't know whether any of the others, yeah, that one needs sharpening. Okay, so this is where it gets a bit complicated because the cow is white. Okay, so clean it up again if you need to clean it up. It gets smudged because of the side of your hand touching the paper. You can do this afterwards. You can clean up your paper afterwards, but it's useful if you can do a little bit of cleaning up in between. Okay, so let's look at this cow. So the best thing to do is to look for the shadows first. So underneath his throat, he's got a light shadow coming down here. Okay, so again, just that light shadow. You can always add to it if you need to, but just go in lightly to begin with. I mean, you can rub it away. You can rub pencil crayon away in the same way that you can rub normal HB pencil away. So just carry on shading lightly. But what you need to do is make sure that you leave the whites behind. Okay, so go for the darkest bits first. Get those in. Now this is very much like a pencil shade, so I'm going to change, and I'm just going to use, and I'm using my pencil really lightly, and I'm just going to use the odd bit of colour, but you only want to put it in places because you need to leave the rest white. So I'm looking around and I'm thinking, right, so there's a shadow all the way up here to the eye and round the eye. So that would be nice to do in a brown shade, like that. There's also a shadow that comes up here to the centre of his forehead, where there's a lot of hair converging and we've got lots of marks. So go in and look for those marks and get the shadows shaded. And also the horns. The horns are actually quite a bit darker, so you can afford to put quite a bit of colour on those. You can use blacks and blues and things like that. So again, think about how are you pressing those pencils. If you're working on a curved object like a horn, then use a curved line. Yeah, and that will give you that feeling of the shape being curved. Really useful tip. Use different colours if you've got them. There's a bit of grey there that I've got. Okay, so I'm going to put this onto time lapse now so you can watch me build it up. But like I said, just have a handful of pencils in your hand and just keep changing between the colours. It's amazing what colours you end up seeing. Like around here especially, there's sort of flashes of orange in that brown colour. Do you know what I mean? It's where the light is catching the shadows on that cow. So it's not necessarily orange, but it's the light bouncing off. And that is how you get a wonderful looking cow, a white cow. And the other way that people make things look whiter, so if you were drawing, say, a white daffodil, because you do get white daffodils, I was explaining this morning to some of my younger students, that you don't necessarily paint the white daffodil. What you do is you paint or draw around it. So you might take a sky colour, and then as soon as you start adding the colours in around in the background, that's when things start looking white. So this will look whiter because of the addition of a colour in the background. Okay, so I'm going to carry on and you can watch and have a cup of tea while watching, and then go and have a go at it yourself. Okay, I'll see you in a minute, and I'll let you know what you might need to do just to finish things off. Okay. Okay, so there she is. Female white with calf. You can draw the calf over here if you want to. At Dinefwr Park in Llandeilo. Taken from a photograph, but easily could have been done from real life. Life drawing is great. Just go and have a go at it. I know they move around a lot, but it's a really good experience. I hope you enjoyed using the coloured pencils. If you wanted to, your next stage could be doing it in watercolour, using watercolour pencils, and then you can actually sort of spread this colour around. But like I said, the main challenge is reserving the whites, and the whites on the cow are not white, they're like greys and pinks and oranges, very light tones, but they're still there. So just be careful that you reserve them. If you lose them, then you can get them back. So where the cow has a very light area on its muzzle here, you can rub away areas of white back to the paper if you need to. Okay, you've also got white pencils that you can use. So if you lose white areas, you can go over with a white. I mean, it doesn't really work very well on top of black, but it will work on the other colours, and just put a white mark back in. You can blend using your white pencil as well. You can put sort of blended highlights onto things like I'm doing here. Okay, so have a go. Coloured pencils shouldn't be just for children. They're actually really, really useful. All right, hope you enjoy it, and let me know if you have any issues, and please send me some pictures. It'd be great to see them. Enjoy, and see you next week. Bye for now.